I mean, this is also the 5th time they've been underdogs since they lost.
That's nuts.
Wow, I didn't know that many times.
Playoff game against Buffalo, playoff game against Baltimore, Super Bowl, this year's game against the Niners, and now the Bills again. 5th time they've been underdogs since they last lost. So listen, obviously on its face it's disrespectful and on its face it's foolish. The disrespect is because they're the 2-time defending champs on one of the longest winning streaks in the history of professional football. And the foolishness is because there is no better team and no better quarterback but team as an underdog than the Mahomes Chiefs in all of NFL history. We can show you the numbers. That's not an opinion. It's just a fact. It's happened 14 times. They've covered 12 of those 14, pushed once. They've straight up won 11 of the 14. And the 3 losses, they were leading at the 2-minute warning all 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, one of the losses, 43-40 to New England. That was tied at the 2-minute warning, pardon me. New England kicked a field goal at the gun in 2018. Okay. Another one of the losses, the famous Monday Night Football game against the Rams, 54-51. The Chiefs have a lead at the 2-minute warning. The Rams get a touchdown. And the other one was when they played Buffalo in Week 6 2 years ago, when 2 years ago, 2022, Buffalo scores a touchdown inside the 2-minute warning. They win the game 24-20. So the Chiefs, as an underdog, it just shouldn't happen when Patrick Mahomes is healthy. And so there's that. The other piece of it, Brew, and this maybe you guys can help me with, I don't understand the skepticism or doubt or disrespect surrounding the Chiefs this year. 2022, I get it. They hadn't won a Super Bowl in a couple years. The last time they were in the playoffs, Mahomes played the worst playoff half of his life, the 2021 AFC Championship game. Yeah. They traded away Tyreek Hill. That was legitimate skepticism. They weren't the defending champs. Okay, got it. Last year, well, the offense for the first time in Mahomes' career looked truly broken, and they lost 4 out of 7. Like, you know what I mean? They had a stretch of actual bad football where they lost games. Got it. This year, they have played as hard of a schedule as anybody. They are in the division in the AFC with the most playoff teams. They've beaten those teams. They've beaten Baltimore, the best team not in the playoffs, Cincinnati. They've beaten them. In the NFC, both playoff caliber teams they've played over there. They beat them. Mahomes is healthy. The defense is great. The special teams are great. They have a better receiving core this year than they did last year, and they never lose. So I got the skepticism 2 years ago. I got it last year, even though I thought it was foolish. This year, it seems on its face absurd. So, yeah, it's disrespectful, and no, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I get the odds makers thinking, okay, the Chiefs are going to lose at some point. Like, they're not going to – you didn't even think they'd go 17-0. You still may not think they'll go 17-0. So it's like at some point they're going to lose. Buffalo is a good team. And, oh, by the way, Buffalo's beaten them, 3 out of 4 times when they've played in the regular season. So I get all that. That said, I still agree with you. The fact that they're 9-0, have beaten several really good teams, 2-time defending Super Bowl champions, they should just be favored until they lose. I mean, that's my view. They should be favored until they lose. And so I do think it's disrespectful. And I think also considering the fact that Kansas City has a lot to play for. Like, number one, assuming they'd still play well, following this, which they will, this could wrap up the number 1 seed in the AFC. So that's something. Number 2, this is the Bills. This and Cincinnati. Obviously, Cincinnati is probably number 1. If there's such a thing as a rival for the Chiefs, it's Cincinnati and then Buffalo. Yep. So their antenna are up. It's not like they're going to take them lightly or anything like that. Number 3, Mahomes is still like, I'm ready to cook. Like, I got my new weapon in DeAndre Hopkins. Last week was fine. I played fairly well, but I'm ready to cook. And so there's that. So you have all of these things as far as incentive for the Chiefs. And they're coming off a game they probably didn't feel like they had their best game against a pretty good Denver team. So you got that. And then, Nick, Keon Coleman is out, the receiver for the Bills. Amari Cooper might be out.
We'll see. Yep.
Dalton Kincaid might be out. Like, if those receivers are out, that's going to make Buffalo a one-dimensional offense, and they're going up against one of the best defenses in the league, and so they're going to be predictable.
And those,
so
to be fair, those guys were out this past week. Buffalo scored 30. Now, granted, not against a defense like Kansas City. But go ahead, Wiles.
We had the Jets were favored in Arizona, and we thought that was an insane line, and we proved to be correct. You usually give more credence to the Vegas odds makers than we do.
Yeah.
If I'm having an argument with you, like, well, Vegas disagrees, and I often say I don't care. But this time it feels like you think that Vegas is wrong.
No, I think Vegas
like,
has. I think I've said it the last couple of years. I think Vegas has greatly undervalued the Chiefs. I think I think right now the Chiefs are the Super Bowl favorites, but barely. Detroit is right there. It's 430 to 460. The moment the Super Bowl ended this past year, the Niners were the Super Bowl favorites. I think that there are the Chiefs' metrics are not elite. They're good, but they're not elite. And the sharp bettors are almost, zealots to the metrics, right? And the sharp bettors are really what determine the lines. And as much as I love my gambling brethren, they have a few holes in their game. One of them is they don't believe in sports gods. I do. Another one of them is I think sometimes you miss the forest for the trees on teams like all-time great teams that are playing by slightly different rules than other teams. Like I keep saying, and I think people are starting to come around to it, the Chiefs are using some of these games, parts of games, to figure out what plays they really like, what plays they don't, to work on things. And so they're not going to look as sharp start to finish over the course of a game as the other great teams in the league. So I just think Vegas has a blind spot when it comes to how great Kansas City actually is. And it's a testament to Buffalo, which is right now Vegas is saying is the second or third best team in the league. They're at home. So in most cases, they should be the favorite. If you're second or third best team in the league and you're at home, I just think they're playing an all-time great team, and people don't acknowledge that's what the Chiefs are.
I also think with the Super Bowl odds, at least, Vegas is saying this has never been done. No team has ever won 3 straight Super Bowls. Now, championships, yes, but Super Bowl era, never been done, so that probably factors into it.
It would be nice if the Chiefs throttled the team.
I
know you don't care, and a W is a W, but it would be nice.
Well,
when the Patriots were undefeated in the regular season, throttling
I don't really
just watch the Ravens throttled the Bills. Like, the Bills are throttleable a bull.
Well, hold on. To be clear, the Bills have been beaten by more than one score once in 4 years. Now, it happened a month ago, but they're not a team that gets blown out.
And I don't think this Bills team is as good as some of those past Bills teams. They're not as talented, so I think that's a factor too. And look, let's just face it, the Chiefs, at least through us and others, get the benefit of the doubt because they won the Super Bowl last year when they didn't look good in the second half of the regular season. So that's it, though. If they didn't win the Super Bowl last year, I would be a little bit down on them. I'd be like,
9-0.
Yeah, I'd be like, you're 9-0, and that's good. But like I said, it would be looking a lot more like Philly. Like Philly was 10-1. We were down on them because the games were close.
Can I say something real quick?
And they didn't look good.
You were not down on Philly pre-supernatural
At 10-1,
fun.
no, I was like them, something seems off. They're still winning, but the games are close, and that's what the Chiefs are doing. They get the benefit of the doubt because they won the last Super Bowl.
Current odds for MVP. Lamar is at 1. Then it's Josh Allen, and then it's Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes has already beaten Lamar on opening night. Nick, if he also beats Josh, should he at least jump him in the MVP race?
So, I don't think so. Because I don't do team with the best record or second best record, quarterback. Those are your 4 options for MVP. The quarterback for the 1 or the 2 seed in the 2 conferences. But the voters do.
Yeah.
And last year, when I was trying to make the argument, I think I ultimately said Lamar would have been my MVP pick. But construct the argument that maybe it's more open than people think. you and others made the case, well, if Lamar beats these guys head-to-head, you know what I mean? If he goes into, it was Brock Purdy. Who else did he beat? I wrote
when he beat Brock, he eliminated Brock.
He eliminated. It was like an elimination.
That kind of sealed it.
Right. And so, for those people, Mahomes played Lamar, outplayed him, and beat him.
Yeah.
There is all of a sudden a little like, could Justin Herbert get in the conversation buzz with his numbers and the Chargers being 6-3? Played Herbert, outplayed him, and beat him. Played Purdy, outplayed him, and beat him.
Yeah.
It also beat Burrow, didn't outplay him, played poorly in that game, but beat him. And if you then add Josh Allen to that list, again, that's not how I would like MVP to be done. But it puts you in a very odd spot because, not put you in an odd spot, I'm curious your opinion of it because you are the biggest Lamar guy, but you also pray at the altar of quarterback wins and think the MVP race is like
me and Vince.
Yeah, is a boxing championship belt.
Yeah.
And you hold it until you lose. Until you lose,
yeah.
So I don't know where you would stand.
I'm going to go for the third option, not to be difficult. Here's if Mahomes, because I do think Mahomes would have to jump Josh, and he would probably have to jump Lamar if they're undefeated. But here's the odd thing. Total touchdowns for MVP quarterbacks since 2018. 52, 43, 51, 40, 45, 29 for Lamar.
29 is a noteworthy
But that was a funky year, so that was already an outlier. Mahomes on pace for 25. So I'm like, man,
what if he gets to 29? What if he gets to the exact number Lamar was at? And when Lamar was unanimous.
And undefeated.
Or a vote away from unanimous.
There was no, go ahead.
This would be the door opening to Saquon or Derrick Henry. A quarterback, unless he's undefeated. Wait. If he's undefeated, it's over. But a quarterback with 25 touchdowns who deserves the MVP with 1 or 2 losses, then it's like, you know what? We should open this up to.
What if Lamar's numbers continue to be on pace for what they are? It couldn't be Lamar just because Mahomes beat him? Because he beat Derrick Henry, too.
No,
argument.
I agree with that.
No, not real Derrick. Derrick Henry wasn't being used.
See, last year, the reason I think individual matchups was so important was because there was nobody running away with it like Lamar is this year.
Yes.
And, Dak was in it. Okay, so Dak and Purdy played. They were both in it. Numbers
Dak
similar.
Beat Purdy and then Lamar beat
Purdy
beat Dak
right,
and then Lamar beat Purdy.
But the numbers were all fairly close, right? And nobody was having this spectacular. So I think that was different. My answer is, it depends. Well, he wouldn't necessarily. Lamar should stay number one. But if Josh has like a great game, 2 touchdowns passing, 2 touchdowns running, 290 yards passing, 70 on the ground, and they lose because he got no help, the defense didn't hold up, whatever it was. Well, him doing that, that's 4 touchdowns. but him having a great game and losing, if Mahomes is just solid, I don't think that necessarily has to move Mahomes ahead of him just because his team won. But if Mahomes plays really well, like he did 2 weeks ago, and Josh struggles, Josh coming off a 0 touchdown, 2 interception game. So if Mahomes has a great game and Josh is bad, then I think Mahomes could move ahead of him, but not ahead of Lamar.
So I want to say one other thing on the MVP. If the Chiefs go undefeated, if they go 17-0, because they have beaten in the AFC playoff picture now, the 6 teams in the playoffs other than them, they've played 3 of them and beaten them. Baltimore, Chargers, Denver. They still have Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Houston on their schedule, right? So that's everyone in the playoffs. And we think that if one of those teams falls out, it's because Cincinnati jumps in. They've beaten them as well. They obviously also beat the team, whoever wins the NFC South, whether it's Tampa or Atlanta, they've beaten them both, and they've beaten San Francisco. If they go 17-0, having beaten every playoff team in their conference and every playoff team they play in the other conference, they should win all the awards. Yeah. Mahomes should be the league MVP. Andy Reid should be Coach of the Year, and Chris Jones should be Defensive Player of the Year. If your team goes 17-0 against a gauntlet of a schedule, when everyone acknowledges, I think, that they don't have the best in the league offensive line. I think it's good on the inside and struggles on the outside. Don't have the best in the league weapons on the edge. Then your coach, your quarterback, and your defensive leader have to win the awards.
But hold
if
on.
they win everything,
you have to have your numbers don't have to be the greatest in the league. They have to be, you just had the graphic, somewhat MVP worthy, somewhat. Right now, Mahomes is 17th in the league in passer rating. And I picked him for preseason MVP. So I think I thought he'd win MVP. He's got 12 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. If he plays out on this pace and they go 17-0, I'm not a voter. I'll be very interested to see if Lamar keeps playing this way, Mahomes keeps playing this way, and the teams, they go undefeated. I'll be interested to see how the voters vote that. But I just think Mahomes' numbers have to get better, even if you're 17.
We got to move on to Coach Prime, which is one of your takes. Coach Prime preparing for a game against Utah on Fox Saturday. Come on, Kev. We'll see 2 first-round picks, Shedeur and Travis Hunter. USA Today, friends of the show, has Travis going number 1 to Jacksonville and Shedeur going number 2 to the Giants in their mock draft. Michael Irvin was asked Deion if he would help steer his stars away from bad teams, and this is what he said. Take a listen.
Yeah, but I'm not going to do it publicly. I'll do it privately.
Yeah. Okay.
So you said you're going to be dad. You're going to be dad. You're going to be dad.
I'm dad. The cows come home. Yes, sir. And with Travis as well.
Okay. Brew, your reaction?
Look, I get it. Eli Manning did it. Wouldn't go to the Chargers, ends up with the Giants. John Elway did it, wouldn't go to the Colts, ends up with the Broncos. They both win Super Bowls. I wouldn't like it with most people. Like Caleb, his dad is not a Deion Sanders. If he was trying to do that, I'd be When Joe Burrow was coming out and everybody said, don't go to Cincinnati, I was like, nah, you should go to Cincinnati if you're that guy. But some people, it's just our society. Some people have certain clout. And they can get Bronny James being in the NBA. We know it's because LeBron James is his dad. Some people have that clout. Heck, would Stephen Jones be running a pro football team if it wasn't for Jerry Jones, his dad? This is what happens. So if Deion goes ahead and flexes his muscle and says, does everything he can to not get him to go to a certain team, not get him to go here, then I'm cool with it. I got to be honest. It doesn't bother me.
You don't like it, KW.
I love it.
Oh, go.
I love it. Because, I'm a Bryce guy. Do I think Bryce got a fair shot?
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And Bryce James.
I didn't know who you were talking about. He said Bronny. I was like, what are we doing?
No, but we've seen over and over. In the next block, we're going to talk about Caleb. And the major discussion is Caleb failing the Bears or the Bears failing Caleb? So here are the top 10 teams, Tankathon, who they have. Jacksonville Giants, Tennessee, Cleveland, Vegas, New England, team of the century. The Saints, the Jets, and Carolina. So if you're Deion, how many teams are you steering away from?
No, so that's the problem. So that's my question.
Lots of them. And all of a sudden you're getting pick 11 money?
No, that's not going to. So that's the issue. So the issue is, there are a few organizations that are simply bad. The Jets are a bad organization.
Okay, that's one. They're done. Sorry,
right.
Whit.
And so I think under this current ownership, Carolina's a bad organization.
Okay, that's 2.
Right.
The Browns, I don't know if they're a bad organization or made an egregious decision with Deshaun Watson, but they've actually, I think Stefanski, Sharp, they built. So point is, teams that are.
How about Vegas?
I don't know. Brady maybe changes it.
So that's the question.
Right. So
I think he would go to Vegas.
Me too. And so it's very
Giants,
rare, awesome team, awesome situation, drafting 1 overall.
Yeah.
It's that now I thought the Bears were in that position because it wasn't their pick, but Colin's point forever was the Bears haven't had offense or a quarterback in 70 years. Maybe it's, institutional.
Sure.
And maybe he ended up being right. Here's my one addendum to this. Even if I don't love it or I feel like there's a little double standarding going on, I totally understand the concept of it for the quarterback, Shedeur. I don't get this at all for Travis. I flatly don't. What is a bad organization for the wide receiver corner. Like, I just don't get it. Like,
I don't think it'd be as strong for Travis.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it just
now,
doesn't.
Deion didn't take the Wonderlic test for the Giants.
No,
but
that
they were
part's
drafting
fine, but like that's
Okay,
the
I know what it is.
Yeah,
Travis.
well,
I'm guessing what it would be.
market size.
Let him
No.
play both sides.
Yeah, like an Ohtani thing.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, when I come here, I want to do both. And if you're just going to play me in one, I don't
See,
want to
that
be here.
I would
That's
be
probably
more
it.
okay with than if it's like I want Travis in New York City and not Jacksonville, or I want
it's probably
Travis
what you
in
said.
that
I'm sure
instead
it's
of
more what you
Tennessee.
said.
I know, but then you get this weird thing. Like, what if Belichick goes to the Giants? Like, no, just defense. Well, Belichick would actually, like, moves everyone everywhere. Julian Edelman played a little defense.
Can I
Julian
say
Edelman?
one last thing? 10 seconds. I respect Prime for honesty. Prime flatly saying, I'm going to do it, and it's going to be behind the scenes. If he's really going to be behind the scenes, he could have been like, no, I'd never do something like that. I respect that Prime's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.